and the audio is coming up. They can hear me. Oops. Anyway, hello. Welcome back to this is another edition of Beyond the Pendulum. I believe we're at episode 47, and this is cool. My show is actually showing up as a video, not as a link. Once again, not thanks to anything that Elon has done. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into the code, but there was some discrepancies about Elon upgrading the X code, and the repository hasn't been updated in 24 months. Upon checking, so they are going to update the algorithm. I am noticing on my non-paid X account that I barely use, you are in a you're being shadow banned. Nobody sees my posts, so hey, whatever. I'm really not into this podcast for the money, and I did want to give us a little pat on the back. I am seeing a lot of UAP and paranormal podcasts. They have run out of content because the David Grush roof thing has gone down, has kind of waned down, and the only thing we have going on in the pipe chain as far as the disclosure movement is Lou Elizondo's book, which is also number 1 in the New York Times bestseller, but that's not saying a whole lot because readership has really gone down in the last 10 years, and most people will find alternative versions of book. Actually, the most popular version of books now are audio format. Believe it or not, people are that lazy. They don't want to pick up a book, and they don't want to read. Hey, but whatever. It was a little hiatus. Sorry, I'm going to try and make an effort to make this show every 2 weeks. It's just a lot of stuff came up with my finances, and I couldn't avoid some of these bills that I had to pay. Let's get into Lou Elizondo's book. I have not read it, but I have heard, and I've got a quantitative summary of some of it. I haven't really got into the meat and potatoes of it. But I haven't actually read it, but I do plan on picking it up in the next few days. So what I've heard is not anything we really haven't heard before, as far as us in this podcast and maybe the few listeners that are listening to it. There are some people that I do disagree with. Mika Hanks actually is questioning Lou's whole thing because he thinks that Roswell never actually happened. That is a personal disagreement that he and I have, because I personally believe that Colonel Koso really did say whatever he was on his mind at the time, and I believe that something happened in 47. The skiff that Lou described in the book about how these things are flying is not anything not a whole lot different than what Bob Lazar was kind of explaining with the cyclotron kind of thing, but more along the lines of they are using some sort of metamaterial and shooting a beam into it, right? So we got a cyclotron, we got some sort of particle accelerator into some metamaterial, and lo and behold, poof, exotic properties. Not a big banger there. People who don't understand physics aren't. Oh, did you say something in there?
No.
Sorry. So they're not really just saying a whole lot that we haven't heard before. Because if you are trying to create a whatever was going on at whatever the scientists had explained to Lou Elizondo is not a whole lot different than what Bob Lazar was saying. I do have disagreements with what Bob Lazar had said was going on. I think the understand. See, Bob Lazar never came up to those explanations on his own, and he's very adamant about that. That all of those, the way that the exotic properties were found was from a previous team and that had an accident. So I do give Bob that benefit of the doubt. He's just repeating what was told to him. Do I disagree with some of the layman's terms? Yes, because physics has changed a lot in the last 20 something years since then. But it's on the right track, but think higher dimensional space, exotic particles like Klein and stuff like that. There's Lou's book kind of verifies a lot of stuff that we have, and the fact that there is an active disinformation campaign on his book is speaks volumes that the CIA paid skeptics are going crazy at trying to get you to not read this book. Oh, hey Van, you there?
Greetings.
Did you pick up Lou's book?
No, 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 I haven't bought any books for quite a while.
Yeah, Lou
Work has been
Elizondo wrote his
crazy.
book. Yeah, Imminent. Yeah, you can go pick up a copy, and there's already an audio version out. So it's. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm probably going to read as fast as I can, but there's not, from what I got from the Cliff Notes, there's not a lot that kind of inspired me. Oh, other than yeah, Morgellons disease and alien implants were verified. Morgellons disease is the reason there has. You ever heard of anybody heard of Morgellons disease here?
Yeah, that's. I
No.
don't know what it is. I've heard the name before. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of disinformation campaigns in Morgellons disease where these fibrous tissues grow under the skin. We know if you know anything about cows actually have a form of this, and what was found or what was explained in the book is that Morgellons disease is actually a secondary infection from an alien parasite. That's why it gets poo-pooed on by the thing, and that's why they also prescribe two medications here. They prescribe antipsychotics and antibacterial and antiparasitic medications. So
Now, how do
Morgellons
you
disease.
determine that's like foreign organism? That like what's the determinant there?
Well, your body is not supposed to be producing keratin or hair-like substances underneath the it's kind of like having hairs that are growing in the wrong part of the skin and creates these welts and this what do you call it? There's good pictures of it, but you can't find it through a Google search. I've seen them where they have like these like infectious looking welts all over their body, and they're caused by these fibrous tissues that are growing under the skin in an improper fashion. And often they are not the typical color of the hose. They will often be these weird multicolored things that you would see in nature, like purples and oranges and whatever. And there has been quite a few cases out there, and Blue did verify in the book apparently that this was real, and was a result of a secondary alien parasitic infection, which kind of makes sense because there's a few diseases out there that I don't think are of earthly origin, and one of them is Prion's disease, or what we call mad cow, because a prion doesn't make any sense because it is a malformed protein that has an instruction set to tell other proteins to grow not properly, and that doesn't fit into any other. I'm sorry, but outside of mad cow, there is nothing in our ecosystem that does that, as far as we know. That is completely alien. Just like when you start studying the DNA structures of octopus, they're not they don't share anything similar with anything in our animal kingdom. They have 50,000% more DNA. They have like 50 times more DNA than they're supposed to.
I
Yeah.
have to look into that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Octopi are not. I believe are some aliens. I truly believe they were some aliens. Pet fell out of the ship or something. I don't know. I mean, they don't even. They don't. I mean, like nothing. I mean, they would have to, or that, or they were, embedded into somebody's, with panspermia. They came from some other place, but their DNA is highly more evolved than anything else in this. Either that, or the only other thing I know that would accelerate their DNA evolution would be high exposure to radiation, which would be possible if you are a water-based animal. Most water-based animals do have resistance to nuclear and gamma radiation, but that's because they lived through these weird periods where Earth was bombarded by higher forms of radiation and survived it. The only other ones outside of the water kingdom are cockroaches. Cockroaches are not will not die from gamma radiation exposure.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're
I
one
don't
of the
think it could take
few.
a lot. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't,
Yeah, there's only a few animals in the animal kingdom that are there, but I believe the whale subsets of like sperm whales and stuff like that. The ones that live in the lower water are impervious to gamma radiation apparently, and some bottlenose dolphins and a few others. But that would make sense because these would be the mammals that had survived some of these Coringer events that have happened over the few billion years that have happened. Coringer events, where the X class solar flares basically strip off our atmosphere, and that radiation comes down. But I don't know. The octopus would be an enigma because they're small. They're not. You got to be really small to like a tardigrade. Tardigrades are also impervious to gamma radiation.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking something like that is living on Venus. They're picking up phosphine and ammonia in the
Oh yeah.
Venus atmosphere.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, they're also living on the outside of the ISS. Tardigrades are
Oh
almost
yeah,
impossible to kill.
yeah, I've seen it.
We also learned with this book that ATIP and OSAP were basically John Greenwald from the Black Vault had, after this book had come out, had kind of exonerated a lot of what Lou Elizondo had said, and he's also making a case in point because a lot of the stuff that John Greenwald was trying to get the FOIA request regarding Lou Elizondo's position and whether the ATIP program had existed, was it real? There seems to be a lot more evidence that the DoD is trying to do a large scale cover up when it comes to any kind of FOIA requests in these weird SAP programs that are highly top secret. But it kind of goes against the whole FOIA laws. It really shouldn't give Dick Swinley whether it was classified, and they were talking stuff that happened 20 years ago. So when you get a FOIA request and it says that, and that it had existed, and they tell you it didn't, there's going to be some sort of legal retaliation coming. I'm going to call it like as a premature bet, but there will be some sort of legal ramifications if John Greenwald pursues the assault on the FOIA inconsistencies, because that is more indicative of a cover up than anything else. Anyway, sorry, just
Uh,
talking.
well, that's what the government does best. That's what they seem to. The less you
Yeah,
know, the more they cover up. Even though that it in itself is a crime, they don't care. It's mode of operation.
yeah, like there are more things that are going on that I know and other people A lot of people are not smart enough to figure this out. Okay, if you are doing Google searches, if you are searching on major social media platforms for anything that is tied or has a narrative for the military industrial complex, and I'm talking about the all Five Eyes, even the Five Eyes programs, because the MIC does cover that. We even got Pine Gap, where Vandeman's from, where they were recruiting not even a few years ago. I'm not going to get into the program because people will ask me what it was, but I do know, and I did have an invitation, and it was sponsored by the Air Force. I can tell you that they were actively recruiting about 5 years ago, and but anyway, the disinfo campaign is trying to delete. And if you're looking for old videos, old pictures, old stuff of implants, Havana syndrome, anything that has to do with the fringe that has some science that you think might not be real, there really is an active disinformation campaign going on searches, social media sites. And I'm not talking out of this weird paranoia. So if any of you guys that are native Russian speakers or can read Cyrillic, try searching English words using Cyrillic. You can do that vice versa. They are very interchangeable. People who do understand Cyrillic, because the letters are very similar and they're often spelled in the same in both languages because they were using English words. You will find what you're looking for. These things have been indexed by Google a long time. They're just not being omitted in the first 100,000 searches. So 100,000 things that show up. And what Google has been doing is that when you search in the image thing, it'll say like this weird thing like there's been results that have been omitted. Would you like to see more? Okay, that's trying to deter you from looking even further into this. And they are assuming that the average American or whatever country you're from that is looking at an American site, that you're not going to be looking at the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th page, the 27th thing in the search, okay? And it shouldn't be that easy. You're going to have to get more resourceful with your searches. You're going to have to look to other places because there is an active disinformation campaign going on. And I have never seen it even worse than right here in this election year. According to the media and everything, Kamala Harris is winning in the polls. When really it's about 50-50. She's not ahead on anybody. Realistically, it's about 50-50. It's scary because there's also a cover up on that on the Trump assassination thing.
They have
I
to
w-
tell you it's 50-50 before they declare her the winner because it's got to be
exactly.
believable.
Yeah.
And at the moment, even the Indian media is saying that she just got a brand new boost because of the women that all of a sudden decided to vote.
Yeah, it's the military industrial complex is gonna say, like, I'm starting to actually believe when Trump said that he had evidence that there was some funny business going on, and you told me about the whole Pennsylvania thing, and now I'm thinking like because it happened to somebody I know very close to me that did have classified information, they there is a strong arm here going, and you can't see anything about it because it's all fucking classified. I can't get into the details about what happened. Other people that in this show sort of knows what happened, but I know 100% that you will get strong armed, and these people are very good at covering their fucking tracks. Like, I do know how they're getting in. I can't tell you how, but let's
Well,
just say,
they're getting into
yeah,
what?
it's these your devices, how they're monitoring. It's very, very, very low level how you're being monitored, how you're being. It's there are two ways of going about it that they've done. is to bottleneck at the telecom companies to monitor, or you can go at the low level, real low level, and put alternative instruction sets into certain chips, aka a real low level backdoor that nobody's aware of, that's always eating your data, that's always acting a little weird, and you wouldn't know that it's there or even sending anything because it's hidden to the operating system. That there are real low level stuff even at the chip level. And there was Vault
It
7,
is.
Vault
It,
7, yeah, with Wikipedia, with WikiLeaks was talking about this kind of shit.
yeah, it's the. I saw one on the Intel management system, and this was
Yeah,
all like 15 years old, but that was a software program running at the chip level that's there all the time.
yeah.
They can access anytime, do
Mm-hmm.
anything they want.
And I'm not gonna say how I know, but there is a device you can go out and buy for about $500 that used to cost about 15,000 to get into this, and there is another way of extracting the firmware out of these chips without some real fancy alligator clips and other stuff that you need. But it's well, I'm not. You know, people who are into the gadgets, into the tech world, know what I'm talking about, and it's some cutting edge stuff. And you will find instruction sets that shouldn't be in there into some of these ESD cards, Wi-Fi, kind of where you want, kind of right where you'd want to be listening.
Yeah, all the what do they call it? Not the IoT devices.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Unbeknownst to the host. Yeah. Yeah, any IT guy or any technician will tell you, oh, it's just overloaded they just need to restart it or whatever. No, there's a reason why it's acting bizarre. It's not malfunctioning. It's sending data to some other place where it shouldn't be,
yeah,
and
it's
the
true.
operating system
I,
isn't
I,
aware
I
of
have
it.
to believe now. Now it could, that back in my old era, 80s or 90s, that was all science fiction. You could see it coming, but it's like, yeah, that can't be. It wasn't going on then. But in today's world, come on, man, they've got everything sabotaged by now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's too
and
easy.
and I'm just saying is how many people are going to get a firmware reader for chips? Less than 1% of everybody out there.
No, yeah, that's
Because the technology used to cost a lot of money to get it now. Now we can do it for like $500 at your house. And you're gonna and I hate to say this, if you don't know how to code, it's not up your alley. You're gonna have to know machine learning. Well,
I don't know that any of that really helps you though. It's like you have
you
to
you
buy
you,
these
you, you
products to interact with, and they're all
well,
sabotaged. So how do you get around it? I mean,
Well, I mean, you can still rip the firmware, but you're going to have to also custom design a capturing protocol for when this thing comes in because it might. I mean, if it came out as pure hex, sure we can decipher it, but what? Well, I would know. Let's just say that you would need a basic college level IT education to figure out what's going on here. A basic one. And you can get a pretty decent picture of what's going on. It would be a combination of hardware knowledge along with some little bit of coding knowledge and more at a lower level engineering level. But this was stuff that we were talking about in Vault 7. I'm not going to go out there and say everything's really being monitored at some point. It's like, but you can hide in a sea of data. That's the thing.
well, and these agencies are well, I don't say they're totally dependent on. They can always put a human eyes on you if they want, but in a normal situation, they're dependent on this data. So if you just leave your phone at home, and whenever you're going to do whatever you're going to do, they think you're still at home.
Yeah.
That's where the break is. If you want to get away from it, that's how you do it. You have to get away from it.
Well, they also, believe it or not, your most cars after 2011 are sending data too.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, so, I mean, I don't really know what they would get out of it, but
well, they got also got a gal I know that got a Subaru, and this fucking car like sucks all the contacts off her phone and is like randomly calling you. It's the thing's fucking up. So she takes it back to the dealer and tells her what this thing's doing. It turns out there's a big lawsuit going on. I think GMC's got the same problem, but yeah, these companies are just d- taking all your info. Your
oh
fucking
yeah.
car now is part of the scheme. Everything's
Yes.
sabotaged. It's just all reporting on you. It's all recording how fast you're going and all the rest of it now.
Yeah. I mean, why does a car company need your CAN bus information? Your wireless CAN bus information. Most people don't even know what a wireless CAN is. It's like it's how the car interacts with everything else, moving, braking, whatever, and it's called a CAN bus. And I was friends with a black hat. Well, we lived together, and I learned about the what a CAN bus was because it was a huge point of exploit for farming equipment and foreign espionage. Believe it or not, that was an active target from a nation state. They were basically trying to sabotage our food by using an exploit on this thing. But the relation to the can. But there's been even people that have shown the FBI that they can break into this shit, right? And they can start on an airplane if they have the right exploit. And this is the FBI knows about this one. This was quite a few years ago that somebody was able to break into this CAN bus system and was able to steer the plane from a laptop.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, he got in a lot of trouble for
Yeah,
that.
but
But
he had to make his point, right?
yeah, well, that's the problem with all this. Everything has to have a Wi-Fi chip in it. Everything has to be connected. Why? Why does everything have to be farm equipment? It's like, give me a break. There was a
Well,
time when this electronic made sense. You had enough electronics to handle your spark and gas needs, in your engine and get that all up to speed and working right. And that's about all you needed. What do you need it on your brakes for, or your fucking throttle? What's
that's where
and
you and
your
me
light and all
you
the rest of it. It's like, what's up with that?
That's where you and me agree, and the engineers agree who design the exploits and the hacks and whatever, is that hardwiring stuff is more practical and it lasts longer, and anything wireless is a point of, we call a POE, a point of exploit or point of collection. And you start running into these weird issues where you are leaving yourself more vulnerable having a wireless system, and it's faulty when these systems have to be working correctly 100% of the time because people's lives are at stake. And this was like one of those things where I was like, the steering system on the Cybertruck on the Tesla is completely wireless.
Yeah. So, yeah. Good luck with that. Well, that's.
So
I mean, well,
why would you do that?
I don't know.
Could you
That
imagine going 100 miles
I
an
thought.
hour and then all of a sudden somebody has a Wi-Fi jammer or signal
Yeah,
jammer?
I like the thinking of about 25, 30 years ago. There was a thinking is like when all this electronic and stuff was coming on, in the industrial environment I was in, was like, oh, we're okay with that, but there has to be some like mechanical fail safe or electrical fail safe. Like if this thing goes haywire, you hit the e-stop or you shut this, hydraulic valve off and the thing stops. Now this fly by wire shit, you don't know, man. There's no way. They don't build stuff anymore like that where it's like, where's the e-stop or
Where's
or
the
the
where's the
hinge
ESD
blade that
guard,
I
you know?
pull out, to shut this motherfucker off.
Yeah, where's the ESD
Um,
guard? Where's the insulation for this shit? Because remember, even wired system were susceptible to radio interference, high voltages. So You
Oh,
know, you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
you
It's,
know. They were aware of that. So like now you're dealing with wireless, which are susceptible to even more shit. Like too many ions in the atmosphere can fuck up your flight system. Like, why
they've
would you
gone
want to do
overboard
that?
with it. The idea should be to use the least amount required because more, just like more software, more vulnerabilities. Well, more electronics, more vulnerabilities. You know, more and more data on your CAN bus, more vulnerabilities. The more you add to it, the worse it gets. It's just get to use the least amount you need to do what you need to do, and then that's it. All these
Yeah.
you don't need a friggin' 20-inch TV screen in the middle of your dash. Playing games and your map and all. It's like because it's embedded with all this other crap. It's just sucking all the data off your phone and
Oh
all from
yeah.
all the cars around you and everything else. Wi-Fi map and everything for the enemy.
Speaking of which, that yeah, we used to we knew of this NSA tool. It was called Cherry Picker. I think we talked about this on the show, or did I talk about it with my other friend? I don't remember. I think it was on the show where they were using Cherry Picker, and some college students said they had invented this technology that it can see through walls. It basically just maps where you are, on the signal relation to the router using an exploit, and can basically, in some sort of 3D geometric thing, able to draw you out hypothetically where you are in relation to the room, so they can shoot through walls and fucking get a target. And I'm like, Cherry Picker was designed about a decade ago, and don't yeah, now some college is saying that they invented. I'm like, okay, you know.
Oh yeah, that's been around a while. I mean,
Right.
the early on Wi-Fi, they allegedly could pinpoint you, and kind of tell the size of room you're in. They've probably been way past that now,
Yeah.
especially with the higher frequency and everything.
Yeah. What else did I have? The active disinformation. Yeah, the National Institute of Health had shut down the Havana Syndrome study because the CIA had strong armed all the participants into participating into their study. So Havana Syndrome doesn't exist officially, but it does.
They've got all kinds of news stories on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something's going on. Maybe these people are getting messed up. Well, I look at that's probably like a dual beam, focused dual beam, triple beam. They don't hit you from one point with any one they could be kind of seen or picked up. But if they put multiple beams on you, then the combination would mess you up. Uh, that's how I think you could do something like that and get away with it.
Well, the thing is that they're classified is because they're using some sort of high impulse, high wattage metamaterial that's able to handle that kind of signal. And I think it's not that the beam is classified. I think it's the materials that they are using are exotic. That's the $10 million question, which everybody seems to believe who kind of understands material science, is that they're using something that is able to produce terawatts of energy at a pulse and is able to go long distance as well. Either that, or maybe Uri Geller was right, where they're using some sort of psychic terrorism. I don't know.
Well, you can do that with these higher wattage. What are those? They're those sound machines that they've got now. But if you turn them up to higher powers and focus them in, I mean, they can mess you up. Plus the microwave part of it.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and they can use subsonic sounds too.
yeah. Now there's certain pulses, like if you look at that, like you see them on some of these videos, like it's like a 2.8 hertz or something. If they flash a strobe at certain frequencies or certain patterns, it can set off these seizures and I think that's kind of, they may not be doing it with light or strobe or anything, but they're hitting you with some kind of wave that is going to create that same kind of effect, mess you up and
That's
set off
probably
something
what it
that,
would. Yeah, that's probably what
set
we're
something.
dealing with. Whew. It's yeah, most likely. They're almost positive it's some sort of Russian elite group that's doing it. I suspect it's probably a handful of individuals. That's what they want you to think. But I think it might be a lot more than just that rogue Russian group that was described. I believe that we're using it as well.
Yeah, I suspect it's not anything we haven't done or CIA hasn't looked at in the past or put on a shelf somewhere,
Yeah,
all those dirty weapons you use, at some point in the future.
yeah.
There's so many.
I'm just amazed that the American public actually looks at Wikipedia, and if that's like the number one thing people use to look up something, and it is the most unreliable information that is on there.
Well, it's kind of like Google. You do that as like a reference search, and you kind of know, okay, it's going to be biased or whatever. Just see what they have, see if they're still honest.
Yeah, I've been doing most of my searches now in Yandex and Russian, and with like Cyrillic letters to look for English words. It's it's getting that bad. Um,
Now, here's one I ran into. If I'm on Google and I type in Yandex and
yeah,
and then try to get there off their link, it fucks up. It won't even let
yeah.
you get there.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if it does it on mine. It might. Google.
It would come up with like a communications error saying like trying to blame the other side. Oh well, it's not, it's the other side not letting it happen. It's like, nah, it's you guys, man, because I can go straight there.
Yeah, it's having a little bit of trouble, but that's because it might be.
What's a competitor? But there's more. They don't want you to see. They don't want you to go there.
Yeah, I think it's because it had trouble finding it, but it went through because it's probably indexed in my browser. I can try it. I can try it on another day with them using clear all my
You know,
cookies and data out on a fresh one. But yeah, you're right. It shouldn't
it
have been
checks
that
with it.
slow. Yeah, it shouldn't have. There is something weird going on there.
Yeah, there are some companies that will not like. They will not transfer you. And if they see you, like if you're on their page, they see you trying to transfer out with their request. They don't, and they got some corporate bullshit going on. They don't do it.
Yeah.
They don't let you do it just to be dicks.
Sometimes, believe it or not, the telecom companies will actually not allow you to view certain sites. I've seen that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not common, but it does happen. They will peer block a a certain web. They don't do it too often. I haven't seen it very often, but quite often it is political. I've seen it happen quite a handful of times. You don't see it too much anymore. But hey, you wouldn't know if you're missing it because you wouldn't find it anyway, right?
Well, yeah. How can you keep all this in your mind? While you're doing other stuff. And, oh yeah, that's right. It's this special case. I mean, it's just, yeah. The few times you think about it or you run across it, but I think it's happening all the time.
Yeah, I'm just kind of worried about the internet, long term because we're dealing with all of these inconsistencies because of the filtration that is going on with the internet and Google searches. It's like the average Joe doesn't know how much force-fed bullshit that he's been fed, and you know, I remember when
No,
YouTube is where you go to find all of the conspiracy shit. Now the conspiracy shit is not on YouTube; it's on all the other social media sites. Now YouTube is like an okay place to go learn stuff. It's like it flip flops.
yeah, it didn't have to be that way. YouTube. I mean, they prefer to be political. They are political.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're anti-gun, anti-everything.
Yeah, I mean, they're in monopoly. They got their monopoly ways. I mean, there used to be laws against that. Well, there still are. They just don't enforce them. It's
Oh. Yeah, they
in
have
the
they.
new America. We're all about
Yeah,
criminality. We're not against criminality. We're all about criminality. Just the right
they.
kind. And the stuff we control, especially, it's kind of we like.
Yeah, there are a few podcasts out there that claim that they know what, who, or what, and who all of these entities are, and they just give you these random inclinations that they know, and they say the deep state. And what people don't understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying the deep state, like we're talking about people that are in the government and outside of the government, but more along the lines of military defense contractors that have top secret clearances and ties to money on Wall Street. These are no named or not too well known, small but yet large budget companies that do these, that have agendas in everything and have enough strong arming purchasing power to make X, Y, and Z decisions. And they're infiltrated in every level of our Defense Department, alphabet agencies, lobbyist groups, Congress, not so much, but they are bought and paid for. But these, when they just tell you, there's a deep state, they're after you, blah 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 blah. They don't. People don't understand what the fuck you're even talking about. There's no. I mean, there. I mean, there's. You can think of it as a rogue entity that has too much power within its own government, and everybody's afraid to stop it because of their power and what they're capable of. They do
Yeah,
act above the
that's
law.
always the coward's explanation because they don't want to do anything about it. They're making money off of it, and they don't want to rock the boat and get killed. But
Yeah.
so there's two responses. Either you accept that okay, there is this, these more like an executive branch people. Let's continue. COG is essentially that executive branch level folks that stick around. Doesn't matter who the president is or the people come and go that are elected. You have this, special people with alleged talents and connections or whatever that are the fallback.
Yeah.
Well, they've made themselves the most important ones now. The rest of it doesn't matter. It's just like, hey, well, it's all about us because hey, we're here all the time. These Trump and Kamala and the rest of it. That's the puppet show.
Yeah, they look at those as temporary employees that don't really require any of their yay or nay to do what they want.
Yeah, any of these military or CIA or I mean, how many agencies are there? They're just doing what they want. They don't care anymore. Especially the
Yeah.
CIA because nobody's really over them or bothers to double check what they're doing, especially in the House of the Senate. So yeah, it's just a big joke. And of course, they've created this system now. It's like, well, you created it and let them run with it for how long now? So yeah, it's totally corrupted.
Yeah. And there's nobody that has the cojones to fucking stand up to him. Nobody.
No, no, and it's sad because
They'll
there's no
threaten your
excuse
they'll
for it.
threaten to kill your wife and family. They don't care.
Well, then you shouldn't be in government. Then you're not using your power as an elected official to show them who's boss because that's the way it used to work. You threatened a government official or anything, that was in Congress, or something, then they took care of you. But that doesn't happen anymore. Now somehow it's all flipped, and the deep state guys can threaten everybody.
Well, they
Well,
did.
who's in
Remember,
charge of
they
this
threatened
shit?
they threatened Tim Burchett recently. Remember? Not even a year ago.
Yeah, well
Uh,
then, okay, if you don't want if you can't stand the heat because this is part of being a government official, then you shouldn't be one.
yeah.
If you're worried about your family and you're going to sacrifice the country, because you're covering for your family. Well, then fuck you. You shouldn't be there
Yeah.
because you obviously can't handle the position. And if you don't know how to wield power, which is the real problem here, then this is what happens. You're too damn big of a coward to do what you're supposed to do as a government official. So to figure out who the deep state is and make sure they're not around. You're the government. You're in charge, not the deep state. So the other way to
Unfortunately.
ignore it is just say, well, come on, Tyler. It's like you're just paranoid. There is no deep state. The government's functioning. Look on TV; it's there every day. You see them bullshitting.
I
That's
was
your
gonna say,
government.
I was gonna say, who called my buddy and threatened all of us with prison? Knew all of us. They knew all of us. Oh well.
There's just the alleged. I'll call them the religious folks who claim to be the moral leaders, and they're you know the ones who stand up and it should be have taken the lead on this, won't do it because they're all cowards. They
Oh yeah.
talk a great game, but there are no white hats. There's no military secret groups that are coming. There are no fucking white hats because I've been waiting since November 1963 for the white hats to show up, and they haven't shown up yet.
Oh exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is no white hats.
It's
There is
it's
no. There is
bullshit.
there.
There
There is
is,
no.
there is
There is no
no,
secret group that's gonna save our ass. The only person
yeah,
that's
there
gonna
is
save
no
us is
group of
ourselves.
good guys that's going to do that for you. It's the bad guys are in charge.
Speaking of weird shit, I got my hands on the SRI remote viewing training tapes. I've been doing those things. They've been actually pretty damn ahead of their time. Uh,
Uh,
Yes, they're using stuff with it. I can the only thing that I can compare it to that's cutting edge that we use now in PTSD psychology is they were using a lot of sound affiliation that we use for EMDR. The brain, the brain actually is the brain. You can train the brain and the emotions into these weird auto hypnotic. They say that they're not using sounds and commands. And I'm just in the wee stages of doing the Monroe tapes, and I plan to finish it all. But I can tell you within 2 weeks of doing just the first thing, I haven't got myself under an EEG, but I can tell you that it's probably doing what it's supposed to be doing is that my alpha waves and my theta waves are, or whatever that new one that they determined that is these weird advanced higher self kind of thoughts are going there. And it's really weird is that I can get myself into a state of self hypnosis and tell myself to get rid of this and this and that, and then get myself back up by another tone. It's scary how advanced they were, and this would happen. This was all designed like 50 years ago. Could you imagine what they have out now?
yeah, well, there don't seem to be a lot of remote viewers, that are really like good at it. And there are some, but it
I
seems to
mean,
work. I mean, it just, from what I've seen of that stuff and that astronaut that was at
well, I showed you. I got the
that
lotto
group
numbers
they had.
twice in 2 weeks, and this time I actually tried again. I got all the numbers, but they were on different picks. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Out of 6 picks, I got all the numbers, but in different picks.
Hmm. You got to focus it a little bit. You're getting close.
I'm getting close. It's like
Holy
everybody
cow.
thinks, and the thing is, like the way it was explained to me is that the intelligence agencies never stopped these programs. They just renamed them because it's cheap intelligence. You don't
Yeah,
need
and it
you don't need a
seems
big
to,
budget.
yeah, and in the people they weed out that really are good at it, they get good intel. That's what's
Yeah.
weird about it. It seems to work.
Hey, CIA, if you're hiring, I got the lot. No, Right. They pay me like twenty
Self-taught.
dollars an hour. It's $20 an hour to get into a box and listen to Barney songs all day. That's my like, that's like more MK Ultra stuff, but yeah, it's amazing that the fundamentals of what I would call entanglement is probably the concept of where the information is available to you, because if quantum entanglement is started since the beginning of time, everything would be constantly entangled, and then if you can tap into this information stream, you or probably have access to anything that you want.
Well, that's
That's
kind of what the conclusion. Because it's like, well, wait a minute. If we were all at this, you know, the Big Bang, right? You were in this quantum state, and if everything and all matter was quantumly entangled, then it still is. You know,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm getting at in
I just,
these.
it's like you say, you should be able to do, or just like remote view anything. Then,
Well, I've been able to remote view the lotto. I mean, it's kind of retarded that I'm not looking into like secret stuff, but I've only been looking at the lotto. Come on, dude, it's like cheating a little bit, but I got some winners. No jackpots though. And with that, we'll leave it at there. We'll be back on the show 2 weeks. Be back on the what's after the
let's see.
12th. The 12th.
That looks right.
Yeah, from the 12th, and we'll for sure be streaming then. And with that, we'll call it off.
All right, sounds good.